accomplished 1/50,000th of this year's chores that I must get done. That was good. Did something anyway. So, boo. Anyway, bullshitman made a video, so this ought to be fun. So I was just noticing, though, that he has a little icon of a maze, a game. And he's so obnoxious, he so vehemently rejects the idea of a formula to life and a cost to benefit analysis to life, figuring out the net gain in the game, that you pay a price, there's a fuel that goes in, and there's a commodity that comes out that I would argue is a lot less solid. We know the value of the commodity that goes in. The value coming out is a little ambiguous because of this desire concept, and so that sort of breaks it a little. He finds this conversation obnoxious. It's obnoxious to him to even think in these terms of values, that we're playing the game for something of value. He doesn't think the value is at all real. He thinks it's just something, words that we speak. And again, he thinks it's not a property of a thing that we recognize, that it only means something to us, the person recognizing it, in a sense, and that it doesn't mean anything that it actually happened, which is the weird part of it, right? Because it happens. It doesn't just have a meaning, it has a happening, and it's the happening that we're recognizing through establishing or giving it meaning. I mean, value is a unique category that things can fall into, and I would argue that the word itself, everything that we have put value on, we put value on because of the fact that it's tied to the fact that a sentient creature will have to endure some sort of negative experience to create it. Every commodity you use has value because people have to go to work. They have to risk their life to produce it. So there's this horrible payment in terms of human quality of existence, comfort. Human comfort has to be destroyed to create human comfort in some other place. And these machines we produce and these things we produce in some way or another take comfort from one person and transfer it to another person. It's quite clearly there's a game being played of taking from one bucket and pouring it into another bucket. It's clearly what's taking place in every interaction. The value of every single thing is commoditized, is reducible to that exchange. Somebody has to pay for it, to produce it. Anyway, I just think that's obnoxious. But anyway, I was thinking of this maze thing, and I was just thinking of the idea that, I mean, you can test the value of things so easy in so many ways, because you could say, well, let's say we had a maze, and human beings had to go get something and bring it back in a certain amount of time. And any amount of time they took longer than the set amount of time, they would lose something. They'd have to pay a price. And so I was just thinking that if we made the price, you had your choice. Either your death is going to be longer, so for every second over time, you would spend more days in typical death, which would be, medications, horrible chronic pain, feeling just awful, all that kind of stuff. So we lengthen the period of time it takes for you to die, or you could have your life reduced. So you can have actually numbers of years taken away, days, or you can have of life, or you can have the number of days you spend dying increased. I wonder what people would choose. I wonder. But anyway, no, I don't really wonder that hard. So I think if they think about it for a second, they would realize, oh yeah, I'm going for the, I'll hope that I can not fail too badly. But yeah, I won't give away those extra bad days. Anyway, let's go. Let's see what happens. This ought to be fun. It's elevated my mood just to say, a video. Let us see what it does. Let's see what this says. Indifferent Sky, I disagree that it's not his obligation, and my reason for that is when people paraphrase him badly or misunderstand, he asks them to point out where they get that from, and because they are the ones making the claim, it is their obligation. So based on what you've said here before 5 minutes, that is my judgment. He was likely responding to your position on obligationism. I was responding to the fact that this putz got on my video and made these obnoxious comments, claiming an authority, claiming to mock my whole philosophy, and yeah, I guess I argued back. And then when he attempted to explain his obnoxious behavior, he misparaphrased me, and then obliged me to deal with some idiotic island scenario that has absolutely nothing to do with anything I was bargaining. So he is the one who was it. I mean, he's wrong. It's wrong. He's wrong. I'm right, as usual, and we'll demonstrate it here.
I am going to have to do a long, thorough video on what I talked about a couple of days ago when I uploaded my video on the net principle, because apparently doing it in 8.5 minutes causes a lot of confusion. And maybe I shouldn't say a lot of confusion, because most people do seem to get it. So some confusion.
I don't know who's the most people, and what did they get? That you came on my video, rudely and obnoxiously declared my philosophy null and void with 2 vacant, jackass, arrogant comments, and then claimed I somehow was misinterpreting you. You.
The causes. So I'll be doing a long breakdown of all that in a couple of days after I respond to a lot of comments which are being posted. And I'll probably spend a lot of my time today doing that, and maybe even tomorrow, because I'm guessing I'll be getting responses to those responses as well. Right now, though, this video, I have to point out something that I saw yesterday. This was uploaded about 17 hours ago. When I first saw the video, it's a video inmendham uploaded. It's titled More Value Stuff. And I'm going to post it in the description section. And I'm going to post the link both to the video and to the comment section itself of that video in the description section of this video, so you can go read for yourselves.
Oh, this is just so interesting. Yeah, why don't we just go right back to the first 2 comments you posted on my video? Yeah, let's go back there. That's what I'll do, let's say.
And so that nothing gets taken out of context. So inmendham accused me of a few things, and I'm going to let him speak for himself.
That's what this whole fucking piss is about. He is conceited. The value is in the sentient organism and what it feels, and all he's whining about is the fact that we might trespass on individual ignorance, individual right to be an asshole. That's what it comes down to. He thinks people have an individual right to be an asshole. And all they have to do to justify assholery, apparently.
Yeah, well, I can talk over you too, fucktard. And know what else I can do is I can point out, well, why did you start the video with, that's where it all comes down to, because I guess the sentence before that might have been important. Because I might have said it really, really short, and then you're just playing the long version for no good reason.
We fool him. Yeah, so that's a really brilliant standard, right? That's one we can apply everywhere, right?
Alright, so the point I'm making here is his argument isn't that sentients don't feel and that it isn't important. I think he does think sentience, being in pain or not being in pain, is important. What he's arguing is that if you can assess this stuff and figure out that something is sentient and it is in harm's way, that if it passes your IQ test, whatever that is, it's allowed to hurt itself. So you can't ever believe you're smarter than something else if it passed the same test as you. So if I'm watching Albert Einstein, do it wrong, do something really obvious, like jaywalk or something, it's just dumb. It's just a stupid fucking thing to do. And I dare to go out there and argue with him about, no, you don't want to do that, Albert. But Albert's like really busy doing his whole bent space bullshit and everything else, and he's just not giving a shit about thinking for a minute. He's just being an obnoxious asshole, and he says he wants to get to the fucking goddamn ice cream shop and get some fucking ice cream. I somehow don't have any right, even though I know this isn't a good idea, because Albert sucks in traffic, okay? He's a stupid, feeble, doddery, piss-in-his-pants old man. He's going to fuck it up. I don't have a right to interfere. And who cares anyway? This is, again, this has absolutely nothing to do with the big picture subject I'm talking about and the idea that he negates any kind of value equation. That's what he was arguing against, is that you can never possibly ever do any of these thought experiments and come up with a net answer to a question and say, this is what you do. You do what the right thing is. Okay? We have an obligation to be logical because we live in a world with people in it. And his argument, his thought experiments have to do with individuals who live in universes where people don't go to work, where nothing else happens. There's only one guy magically living in some magical world where apparently all his needs are going to be met. And if I ask the guy the question, well, what are you going to do when you get older and you're dying of cancer on this island? And he doesn't have an answer for that question. Well, couldn't I null and void his little adventure right there and say, well, wait a minute, if you don't have any kind of plan, you might do an awful lot of suffering, and as a sensible, rational human being, I see no reason to allow you to do that.
That really makes a lot of sense. Full anti-bullshit man into thinking you're competent and you have rights. As an individual, to say, I don't want to take your antiviral drug. I don't care if it will eradicate smallpox. I don't care if I'm going to be, whatever, smallpox Harry. I wish to retain my individuality. Fuck you. And anti-bullshit man says, oh, I believe that one. So, yeah, okay, you can fuck all of society as an individual.
Fuck all of society. I posted a comment response on this video, and I pointed out to inmendham, as plain as day, that I at no point stated anything about society, that my thought experiments on the blog, which, by the way, when he started this video, he...
Right. So let's just understand. He's proposing thought experiments that have nothing to do with any reality. Like somehow I would... Well, let's say it was Mars. There was one living thing on Mars. So let's make it a little bit different just so we can have a conversation. But I mean, it's a stupid thought experiment in any other context. And there's one guy on Mars, and he's got a hammer, okay? And he's got a propensity to hit himself in the head with it, okay? But he's not really, really, really stupid. All right, now, do I have an incentive to build a spaceship, fly to Mars to stop him from hitting himself in the head with a hammer? Or do I have 7 billion human beings and zillions of animals on this planet I'm worried about that I'd like to fix first? I mean, it's such a non-issue here. We're not worried about this bird shit on the fence, about whether I have an obligation to intervene to save one Martian from beating his own brains in. It's not part of anybody's reasonable agenda. Who the fuck could care? With all the problems we got, he's worried about, he's doing some thought experiment about a baby with a splinter or something. I mean, you can't get more obtuse and off-fucking subject than this. And to use this as a counter-argument to what was my bold argument that he won't just admit that he totally misunderstood. Where I said if I could go to hell to save 1 million people from staying in hell, I could rescue 1 million people from hell by going to hell, that I have an obligation to do it. And I would wish somebody, and I even use the analogy, another fire analogy, I would hope, if I was too big a pussy to do it, that somebody else would push me through the door. Because it's goddamn the right thing to do. And that he took as being some sort of draconian statement where we all have an obligation to, fly to Mars to go stop one guy from beating his own brains in with a hammer. I mean, that's how fucking bizarre this whole thing has gotten. So fuck all you cunts defending any part of this nonsense. This guy's wrong.
Talked about how he went to the blog and he read some more of my commentary. And how what he's saying now is directly about me and what I believe. He said it himself at the very start of this clip I played. It's about what I believe. So he goes on to talk about society. And
Right. Look, I was doing a walk and talk video. So if I left out the smallpox and just said protect him from his own imbecility, all right? So let's just change the scenario, right? I mean, it's really hard for me to think in terms of one fucking individual and one fucking individual's welfare. That really is a little difficult for me to worry about in the context of this planet. But okay, I wasn't able to migrate myself to this idiotic thought experiment where I'm thinking about one individual and its consequences with itself, its impact on itself. But the point is that the argument still holds true, and the argument I gave you about this Martian example now holds true. So I just don't see what the difference is in any really big way. What's the difference whether you're threatening yourself or you're threatening something else? And all you're doing is cutting it down to such a narrow bird shit on the fence kind of an example that, yeah, it's going to take we could spend decades just arguing how competent is. What is the real true measure of competence? And again, my thought experiments had always built into them this idea that you have certain knowledge of the truth. So you're certain the person is going to hurt themselves. You're certain, not uncertain, you're certain that it's cost effective for you to intervene. You're certain of it. So again, you violated my thought experiment, cheater. Really, you're just such a fucking asshole that we make this whole big stink when you got it wrong, shithead.
Individuals not existing in a vacuum, but in society. And he goes so far as to use the example of smallpox. And I asked him in the comment section politely, even though I was very furious when I saw this yesterday, but I asked him politely to please find one single quote where I said this, where my thought experiments were not about individuals stranded on an island.
Yeah, well, again, I'm going to go back to the original 2 comments you posted on my video, you stupid little weaselly cunt, and then I'll ask you to find one fucking place in my goddamn video where I was talking about this goddamn bird shit. We made examples of 1,000,000 to 1 profit. 1,000,000 to 1 profit. And claimed there was an obligation. When there's 1,000,000 to 1 profit, there's a fucking hard obligation. That was my claim, you fucking cunt. Man, you're just such a lying fucking goddamn weasel.
Who we know ahead of time will not be impacting any other domino effect pertaining to sentience.
And go read his little weaselly motherfucking cunt comments, right? This little fucking weasel made some comment like, well, I'll go delete my blog and I'll do this and blah, blah, blah. And then another comment he says, well, this is the last comment I'll ever leave. Well, yeah, and this is the way you talk, you fucking little weasel? This is what you title your fucking videos, you stupid little cunt? Fuck you, I'll be on your ass. Make a video about anything, I'll be on your ass. It'd be my pleasure to fucking ream you. Well, that didn't sound right, but anyway, I'll be glad to do it. Well, but it ain't going to be pleasant. You're not going to enjoy it.
And I asked him to point out just one example of me saying that. And you know what he said to me when I asked him to do that? He said, that's not my obligation, asshole. It's not his obligation. When he talks about something...
Well, let's go again. Yeah, I said it's not my obligation, asshole. And then I just explained what I just explained. My thought experiment had nothing to do with one man on an island. That's not my thought experiment. My thought experiment was a 1 to 1,000,000 profit, okay? And the notion of obligation under such circumstances, when there's a 1 to 1,000,000 profit to be gained, saving people from harm, yes, you have to do the rational thing. Duh.
I believe, to actually find a quote.
I mean, really, if 50 people could die to save 50 million people from harm in World War II, don't you think they would have an obligation? Realistically, if you could take it all and dump it on 50, don't you think that would be the thing to do? And it isn't like they would live 50 years like to endure all the suffering. No, they would just endure it once, and then it's over. That's like the rape example. You rape one woman, okay, you save 10 from the same horror. I mean, there's no way you cannot be compelled by that logic.
Of me saying what he's referring to. he knows full well that I'm strictly talking about individuals in a vacuum if he's going to use my blog as a reference point for our...
I'm sorry. Again, go back to who started this, you fuck. I had no interest in your blog. You had an interest in my video and made snarky, rude, obnoxious comments on it, you fucking little cunt. My God, you are such a little shit.
Documentation, which he plainly did at the beginning of that video that I'm playing right now. And you can see it for yourself. At no point did I ever say anything about individuals existing in society and their acts having a domino effect on somebody else.
And again, I don't really care anyway, okay? Does it really make a difference? I mean, it makes a difference for, obviously, some people to see the distinction. But again, if it's just, all you're doing is claiming, is there a benefit? And if you know there's a benefit, there's no such thing as any kind of autonomy bullshit, right? I mean, all the time we act on the behalf of retarded people. We don't claim they have some right to autonomy. They have a right to do something wrong or hurtful to themselves. And again, the context of my statement is you have certain knowledge. I mean, if you have certain knowledge, how can you not act? Fuck.
Every single one of my parameters for my thought experiments, and it's all about the parameters. Every single one of them made sure to spell out that as plain as day, the individual will only be harming himself if he wishes to do this or that. And you won't find a single example to the contrary. And I politely pointed this out to inmendham, and he did not give a shit.
I once again explained you still haven't responded to my thought experiment. You still haven't explained how what you're doing, your stupid bird shit minutia about some guy on an island, has anything to do with my equation, which is 1 million to 1 profit. Which is absolutely nothing, you slandering motherfucking little prick.
He pointed out that it's about his experiments, his thought experiments, the everyday stuff that actually...
Well, that's what you attacked, shit for brains.
...happens on a frequent basis, not about my silly bird shit, as he refers to it. Bird shit.
Yeah, well, again, how realistic is it? Right? Can any man really live on an island by itself, right? So, okay, now we have to consider what's the welfare of this individual. He's got no partner, right? No TV, no resources of any kind, presumably. I mean, he called it a desert island. He didn't call it Paradise Island.
So why did he argue the blog to begin with, then? Right? If it's...
I didn't argue the blog, you fucking cunt! I made a video, you responded with snarky comments. I said your comments are snarky and rude and this is why you're a fucktard. Then you wrote a fucking blog where you didn't deal with anything I said and you said I'm going to come up with some bogus thought experiments to force you to explain why Einstein is an asshole. Basically. Oh, Einstein wouldn't give up anything. He wouldn't sacrifice anything for the welfare of mankind. That was your argument. He would have no rational sense of obligation to do that. I think that's a crock of shit. And I use Kevorkian as an example. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, your blog was a hunk of fucking shit. And remains so.
About if the only thought experiments worth discussing are the ones that happen on an everyday basis, all the time.
Well, I don't know how any of the thought experiments in my example happen all the time. So all the time people go to hell, and we have an opportunity to go to hell to get 1 million people out of hell. That happens all the time. I don't think it happens all the time.
Why then did he feel the need to initially deal with what I brought up when I brought up the island scenarios, or many of the other scenarios I brought up in my blog? First, he had no problem dealing with it, but now it seems that it's just a waste of time, and that his thought experiments are the only ones that we need to deal with. And it's plainly he stated in a comment response to me.
Yeah, well, that's the subject, shithead. I just don't understand. I make a video, you post rude and snarky and shitty and arrogant comments on my video. I'm going to go back and read your comments again. I'll go out and back and play my own video again and point out to you exactly how you're a fucking asshole. But, I mean, this is just obnoxious. And then, you change the subject. What the fuck is that shit? No, the subject's what you did, shithead. The subject, I wasn't even in this thing until you brought me into it, you jackass. I couldn't give a fuck about your moronic, idiotic nihilism. You claimed nihilism is correct, or there is no value, and this whole idea of a net equation is preposterous. You don't have any obligation to help anybody. That's not rational. Of course it's rational. It's all sentient being. I mean, I've used all these analogies. You know them all already, right? We know rationally there's no distinctions between, if I have 10 people, it's not going to really matter who has the broken leg kind of thing. I mean, you could find subtle differences in the individuals and say, okay, technically it might be better for this person to be in pain. But, I mean, it's just stupid to think that it matters which one of us the anvil falls on. Okay? Harm is harm. Harm is the enemy. It's not about whose harm. It's just about harm, period. Oh, damn.
So I gave him ample opportunity to at least point out that what he said, what he clearly, not just what he alluded to, but what he plainly stated here, that I believe that individuals who want to impose smallpox on society, that's just way okay with me. And it's been 17 hours since he responded to my comment. Now, if he had just not responded to the comment, I wouldn't be doing this video, right? I would have just left it there as a comment. But he actually responded to the comment. And he said, that's not his obligation. And I gave him a good 16, 17 hours.
Okay, whatever. That's not all I said, so we're going to have to obviously go back and find that one, right? So that'll be well, I'll do this one. I'll do the comment, whatever, read something or other in another video. But yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I posted whole comments, which I really hate doing, but I wrote whole comments. I didn't just say it's not my obligation. I said, your obligation is get back to your initial 2 comments and my claim that there are net equations, that there is rational obligation. These are real things, and you're pretending they're not. Asshole.
To think it over, and maybe just point out in the video that, you know what, okay, anti-bullshitman doesn't actually believe, and he only believes that individuals should be allowed to fuck themselves in isolated scenarios, which is exactly what the net principle targets. The net principle targets the island scenarios as well. Because
so he's forcing what is a principle, right? It's a principle. And I stated it clearly in my videos, right? We can go back and find these statements that I made, that there is a truth, and we can't always do the right thing, okay? Because the right thing does have such a slim margin. We are selfish, and we're going to rationalize ways to protect ourselves and put other people at more jeopardy than us. We're going to try to navigate that reality, okay? So that's just not practical for us to be perfect. But the logic is perfect, and it's just a simple truth. You can take it all the way down to the minutia. You can take it all the way down to saving somebody from, eating too many spoonfuls of cereal if you want to. You could take it down to some kind of tiny, tiny, tiny negative impact, and it's still going to be true. It's just that emotionally it's not going to make any sense anymore. It's not going to make any sense to selfish organisms, okay? But it's still going to be true.
Every single individual stands to drag the net equation down. The individuals are not viewed as themselves, they're just viewed as being this bigger part of the net equation. Sentient is to be viewed as a collective entity. So of course...
No, it's not to be viewed as a collective entity. The point is that what's to be viewed is that it doesn't matter who has it. It doesn't matter what is experiencing it. It has a negative quality. It just doesn't matter who's experiencing the negative quality. It just doesn't. I mean, it exists like a blob. It exists like a thing. Wherever it exists, it's bad. It's just bad in and of itself. So when you extract it, you're just extracting something like moisture or something. It's like if you want the thing dry and it's got humidity in it, and you have to get the humidity out. It just doesn't matter where the humidity is or what it doesn't matter. You just want it out. It just doesn't matter whether the thorn is in the lion's paw or the penguin's paw or the platypus paw. It just doesn't matter.
Of course, my thought experiments have to target any feasible scenario at least. Of course, we can't just apply it to everyday normalcy. And for him to sum that up as bird shit, you know, any unlikely scenario, but still a feasible scenario, but just unlikely, for him to sum that up as bird shit is complete crap. Because if he's going to view ethics as a mathematics of sorts, well then of course we're going to have to be able to argue about the bird shit, rare type stuff that goes...
No, it's not about it being rare. Again, everybody can understand in every single thing there is things where the margins are so delicate that our perception can't tell the difference. You know, if you get far away from, I can give you a string of numbers. You get far enough away from them, you can't tell which one's a 5 and which one's a 6, and the 7 and the 1 end up looking the same, and it just becomes impossible to deal with. So yeah, when you cut the margin so thin, and it's just a tiny little margin of benefit, and again, in the sense that we are also emotional animals who hate to be imposed upon. But again, if you just stay strictly to what I stated, you have certain knowledge of the benefit of your interference. So, I mean, if you have certain knowledge that your interference is good, well, yeah, the obligation's there. But if the interference requires you to be in somebody's face, it's still offensive to yourself. It's still going to be offensive to us to interfere. We don't like to interfere because we don't like to be interfered with. But that doesn't change the fact that the obligation exists. I mean, if you're preventing harm, you're preventing harm. I mean, there's just no way to not calculate is that your obligation. You're preventing harm and everything else stays the same. There is no net loss in any other functional way.
Goes on as well, just like we can with mathematics. I gave him 17 hours to, well, it's going to be more than 17 hours by the time this goes up. Should he at some point upload a video before I upload mine, pointing out that no, I don't believe that individuals have a right to impose smallpox, should he do that, well then okay, I won't.
Again, but why don't they have a right to do whatever they... Again, you're the one who's now, what are you going to do with your argument? You're claiming that autonomy means something, that individuals have some sort of right. Well, when do they get bestowed with these rights? Okay, so it only matters if they're going to harm somebody else. If they're going to harm themselves, somehow their own harm isn't real harm. That logically, Mr. Spock is supposed to understand that. He's supposed to see the difference between somebody who's strangling themselves and somebody who's strangling somebody else. And again, you know, there was nothing I could do with your equally competent argument, okay, because it doesn't fit into the statement I made. Again, you dragged my thought experiment onto the island, and my thought experiment had you have certain knowledge. So again, I don't know how I could possibly have certain knowledge and then you're going to claim the other guy's equally competent. You can't have, I even said that in the comments, you can't have contradictory definitions of the facts. So how does that work? It doesn't work.
Upload this and I'll delete this. But something tells me he won't. He won't retract the plain...
What is this, such a straw man? I didn't claim, you said it in your blog, you dumb fuck. I paraphrased you in a walk and talk video. Jesus Christ, get over it, shithead. And again, I'm still going to claim it doesn't make any difference. If I fucking am a space traveler, I come across some one fucktard sitting on a planet, you know, eating his own shit and strangling himself, well, I'm going to put him out of his misery.
Accusation here that I believe individuals have a right to impose smallpox on civilizations, on societies, if they so.
Well, that's the principle of this autonomy crap. Where are you taking it from? Again, you're the one who broke my thought experiment. I have certain knowledge. It's going to be harm. There's an absolute profit. You go with the absolute profit. So again, you're the one cheating the argument by creating an autonomous entity that somehow has a duplicate but different definition of the truth. And the two statements, the two truths have to be equally valid somehow. How is that possible? It's not possible. So your own thought experiment can't exist.
Choose. It's a blatant distortion of my position. And you don't have to agree with me on the net equation. But at least get my position straight. And if I explain to you plainly that you haven't gotten my position straight, please.
No, I've gotten your position straight, okay? I had no... You tell you the truth, yeah, in the initial argument, I'm saying, what the fuck? is this asshole arguing for? I'm talking about 1,000,000 to 1 profit, and all of a sudden I'm in some fucking, wonderland where this asshole's talking about minutia. Tiny, tiny differences that don't mean anything. And I'm saying, why are we bothering with that? And again, well, I won't. I'm going to repeat it again. And again, I even conceded over and over and over in all the videos I made, videos prior to this crap. I've already explained the part that there's the Spock-Kirk problem that we have as human beings, that we're emotional animals and that we have this better intellect. And unfortunately, it's really hard for us to do the right thing all the time because the intellect isn't as much fun. God damn, you suck.
Have enough character. Well, you don't give a shit about character in and of itself. It's only about how it stands to target the net equation ultimately. But please have the character.
Yeah, well, again, okay, so this is another little slight, but this asshole thinks character matters, okay, even if you fail. So somehow having good character somehow matters if you burn down the orphanage. You know what I mean? Like, you have really good character, but somehow through the acts of your having integrity and decency, you end up burning down the orphanage and all the orphans die. That somehow it doesn't matter that you totally fucked up, because somehow your character makes up for it. And my argument is, no, the net equation is, yeah, you suck, you blew it. It's not that you're evil, it's just that you failed. Failure just works out that way. Sometimes you're really, really good, but you just fail. Your pogo stick breaks. Some other thing happens, and so you fail. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean you were a bad person. It just means you failed.
To point out that it was a distortion. That if you start off your video talking about how you're referencing my blog, that I at no point stated anywhere in my blog that I believe this. And I told you I would wipe out my blog. I would delete it, and I would never open up another...
Look, I mean, a straw man. He just keeps straw manning me with this crap that I have made some explicit statement that you emphatically stated in your blog that I blah, blah, blah. I never did any of that. I paraphrased your fucking argument, retard. It's a paraphrase. Okay? I'll concede that your blog example is preposterous and beyond rational cognition. So therefore, I didn't assume you were a complete fucktarded idiot. Yes, okay. So yes, I assumed that you were talking about something in some sort of realistic world there where people live, where we're actually discussing what happens in a circumstance where there's reason to care. Right? But again, so you wanted to put the person on an island, so you take them all the way over to an island by themselves. And now we're still stuck, well, I'm not going to re-argue it, but I'm still stuck with the point where the conditions of my thought experiment is that I have certain knowledge that interference will create a net beneficial result. I still don't see why I wouldn't interfere. I mean, I just had a hard time figuring out why I would need to do that when I have all this other mess to clean up here. I mean, it's like there's somebody... there's a scene in a car accident, and there's a girl going to die underneath the truck, and, like, I run the opposite way and, like, pick up a pebble in front of one of the spectator's shoes so he doesn't slip on it. And that's my heroic act. So instead of going and doing something important, I wasted time picking up pebbles in front of spectators because I was worried that they might fall down.
Blog again. I didn't tell him I would never open up another blog again, but I'm telling him now. If he can find that quote, I told him I would wipe out my blog, and I will. If he can...
I've never even asked anybody ever to wipe out anything, anti-bullshit man. So right here, this is like the innuendo here is disgusting. Never in all my time on YouTube have I asked anybody to delete anything. Ever. So this is just bullshit man. You're not anti-bullshit man. You are bullshit man. Okay? I don't give a fuck about you deleting your moronic and idiotic blog. I wouldn't want you to delete it. It's a testament to exactly what I'm saying. That you're a crazy, psychotic lunatic to make such a convoluted argument in response to somebody else's 1 to 1 million example.
Find one quote, even alluding to me believing that I think individuals should be able to fuck up entire societies. with their recklessness, as opposed to just themselves.
Right. So again, I'm just going to go back to the argument, okay? So we all know that we have to sometimes act to protect people from themselves. And we don't see anything wrong with doing that. Even drunk drivers. If drunk drivers never killed any other victims but themselves, many people would say we still have an obligation to the drunk drivers to prevent them from killing themselves or hurting themselves or paralyzing themselves. I mean, we don't let people play insanely stupid sports. We don't let people take steroids. Why? Oh, that's right, because it hurts them. It harms their health. It's not that people wouldn't want to have super athletes. It's just that we don't want to have compromised athletes. Oh, man. Fuck, you're such an asshole.
You find that quote, I will not only wipe out my blog, I will wipe out both my YouTube channels, and I will never make another contribution.
Oh, really? I mean, this is just so bogus. I will wipe out all 5 million of my videos, change my name, and move to France. If you can show a quote where I said in my video that you responded to that the trade-off is for, who gets more peacock feathers. Whether we split them up like 6-6 or 5-7. Show me in my video where I talked about any of this bullshit minutia about one man sitting in a chair and whether I should let him stick a pencil in his eye. It's not even a good analogy, but, well, whatever. Comparable deletion to your preposterous interference and intervention in my video, claiming somehow you have a rational philosophical argument to make when your counter argument was crap. You gave us 3 thought experiments, and I blew them up. I wiped the floor with them.
To the internet under the name Anti-Bullshitman. Nor will I ever upload another video on YouTube.
Okay, keep going.
As well, obviously, under this face.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
So yes, please do that. And if you can't do that much, well, then there really is no reason.
Well, I already did it, right? I read a paragraph in your blog where you make this stupid little tiny distinction over a net value increase of one single little quanta value when I made examples in the billions of quanta.
Discuss anything. And maybe there's no reason to discuss anything anyway, because he read my last description section, my last video's description section, and he said that, he read me pointing out that he can't pronounce the word epistemology, and he doesn't know what what the word means, and
I didn't say that. I just said I couldn't give a fuck. That's what I said.
He just doesn't give a shit. He outright said he does not give a shit what it means. And people upgraded this video. And people upgraded the very video I'm responding to now. 17 thumbs up. So you people who upgraded this video, 17 thumbs up, you're going to endorse the accusation that I think that individuals should have a right to inject smallpox on reality. Well, if you're going to...
I don't think that's the argument at all, okay? So again, you want to keep breaking it down to that minutia. No, your argument is that there's no net obligationism here. That was you come up with this new term, obligationism, an obligationist. Okay, and that it's a completely broken theory that there's any kind of obligation necessitated by net value end results. That's your contention, shithead, that there's no foundation in logic for that premise. And I'm saying, no, it's absolutely rational.
This video, I'll open up the challenge to you as well. Find one single quote of me saying or even alluding to that, as opposed to what I actually wrote about.
Well, again, just create an island of idiots, okay? This is all we have to do. Let's put 1 million of them just to make it more interesting. So there's 1 million idiots on an island. And they're all 5% under peak performance. And by some intervention of mine, I can restore them to peak performance. I can make them peak. I can take away 5% of this misery thing. It's a guarantee. All I have to do is interfere. All I have to do is violate their autonomy to accomplish the task. Of course I have an obligation to do it. I'm going to prevent a big pile of negative stuff, and it's not going to cost anything but a violation of their sanctity as an individual human. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean shit. That has no value. It has no meaning. It means nothing. The only thing it means something is sadness and happiness. That's it. Comfort and discomfort.
Which is individuals existing in a vacuum, on an island, on their own. If you can't do me that much courtesy, then I don't really know what's the point of anything. If you can't do me that much courtesy. There was one guy who left a comment on one of the older videos inmendham did, a comment response to me, because I pointed out to inmendham that, well, okay, fine, you go do your own thing, I'll do my own thing, and we'll stay out of each other's way. And he pointed out to me that, oh, that's just me dodging the issue. That's just me dodging the argument by going my own way and telling inmendham he can go his own way, and that I'm not going to care what he talks about. No, it's not dodging the issue, you fucking shithead. You know how many people talk about stuff on the internet on here? You know how many flat earthers there are? You know how many new age types there are? You know how many communists there are on here? All sorts of people with ideologies I disagree.
Yeah, whatever. And yeah, go ahead and show up on their video and say something as obnoxious as you did on my video. Discount their entire philosophy and let's see how far you get. Okay, I think you'll get some grief. I'm pretty sure you will. And you'll earn it.
With making arguments on a daily basis that I make absolutely no effort to refute. Does that mean I'm dodging all of their issues? No, it doesn't. It simply means that I view them as being too dogmatic to bother with. And
oh, whatever. Yeah, this is all bullshit, too. So you started this fucking fight, and now you're just saying somehow you want to gracefully exit? Well, whatever. Go ahead. Try. Go ahead.
inmendham can't even admit that he misrepresented my position here by saying that I believe individuals should have the right to impose smallpox on entire societies. If he can't even admit that much, and if he can't even be bothered to look...
I'm just saying, that's the implications of this idea that I'm supposed to somehow respect individual autonomy. What does that mean? You can't take that anywhere. How do you take it from your minutia example on the island where leave the guy alone, and how do you make it practical to any other circumstance where the guy lives in a civilization where other people live and die based on his consumption? So as soon as you put him in a realistic world, all of a sudden his autonomy goes to hell, because there is no way he can separate his comfort from somebody else's discomfort. So it's game on again, shithead. And again, why would I, if I know something is going to create unnecessary, keyword, suffering, you're rationally obligated to flick your finger and stop it if that's all it's going to take.
Of the word epistemology on the fucking goddamn simple search to learn its definition and to learn how it's pronounced.
So you don't have any words that are a little tougher for you to pronounce. There aren't words that just get in your way. So, but anyway, I don't care. You can rag on me on all you want on that. I don't give a shit.
Well then, yes, he belongs into that exact same dogmatic pile. I hope he doesn't. I hope he proves me wrong. And he actually looks up the word and he actually backtracks and retracts the accusation in this video that I just played. I hope he fucking does that. But I don't think he will.
I won't have any problem with that. I'll go through the comments you left on my video, and we'll see how many times you say epistemology in those two comments, which won't be any. Okay? And then we'll find out whether this is a meaningful conversation or not. You're the one denying the fact that value has any meaning whatsoever. It only means something to the people who are being victimized, and that we, rationally, meaning rationally in the context of understanding gameplay, it has no meaning. It has no meaning as a representation of the creation of something called a cost or a negative component. And so there can be no math accomplished on it. It doesn't matter. 6 million people killed, 500 trillion people. It doesn't matter how many people have pencils in their eye. So that's your idiotic, inane proposition. And that you arrogantly and emphatically and obnoxiously and rudely declared the greatest philosophy ever in your two snarky, shitty little putsy comments, which I'll go back to again.
I got a little heated here. I didn't mean to do that. But I gave him so much time to respond to my second comment, response that I left to his initial comment response, saying that he thinks that it's not about my thought experiments, and it's about the everyday, likely thought experiments that he talks about on a routine basis. But he engaged my blog to begin with.
Can you believe this shit? I engaged his blog. He forced me to go to his blog. I didn't want to have anything to do with him. I told him he's a sucky piece of shit for showing up on my video with such lame, obnoxious crap. And I explained why his shit was crap. And then he decided he's going to prove me wrong and creates a blog that's all bullshit.
Engaged it. And then when I pointed out the 1 unit of difference, and then I even gave some leeway to that by talking about it can be 20 units, it can be 30 units, it can be 100 units, it can be
I played your video, jackass. That's right. And then I pointed out to everybody. Well, ironically, it was right after Hop to Today had done a video about buying 2 for 1, you know, at the Coke store. He bought Coke and he got 2 for 1. And well, 2 for another 20 cents or whatever. And so it was kind of ironic. Because, yeah, as soon as you got up to 3 to 1, it made my job really easy. Because then I just said, you see what he's saying here? You have a 3 to 1 value equation here, and this moron is saying you don't have any obligation. You can prevent 3 people from getting cancer by you getting cancer. And somehow you have a right to be a selfish fuck. Everything else stays exactly the same. There's just 2 people that don't have, well, there's 3 others besides you. But you have cancer, so that, yeah, you saved the 3. So there's 3 less cancers in the world. Well, there's a net 2 less cancers. Right. I don't know why it doesn't work out better than that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There isn't a rational obligation. Of course there's a rational obligation. The rational obligation screams. It just yells, this is your obligation. Everything else stays exactly the same. There's just 2 less people with cancer. Duh.
Millions of different units. So then he analogized it to buying a drink. 3 for the price of 1. What a great deal. 3 for the price of 1. But when he phrases it as 3 for the price of 1, he does it from the individual inviting standpoint. So it's 3 for the price of 1 for the buyer.
Yeah, the buyer is civilization. Duh. Obviously, I don't get spared having 3 cancers. No, obviously it's 3 people that get spared having the cancers. Oh, man, come on. You can't be that lame. The point is the net equation is there's 3 more sodas and there's more miles per gallon. There, that's a simple way to say it. Just by wiggling the finger in the engine, right, okay, you got 3 more miles per gallon. You go for it. You take it. You grab it.
So when you rearrange the parameters by making it about the buyer, the interest of the buyer, by him saying 3 for the price of 1, well then obviously you fucked my entire purpose of my thought experiment.
Well, look at him. He seems all proud. And again, there's no individual that's buying this stuff. It's called a net equation, you stupid fuck. So here you use the word net equation, and now you're turning it back into an individual again. Obviously, the net benefit is to society. Society's buying the 3 for 1 deal. Idiot.
But you can't see that. And he always engages in that. He distorts the parameters of the experiment by making it about something else, like buying a drink that's 3 for the price of 1, but 1 has your face on it, and 3 have somebody else's face on it.
Right. Now, you're going to tell me that you can't understand that? That there is no difference between Jim, Joe, and Bob Beer and Gary Beer? And if I think there is, as I said in my video, you're an egomaniacal asshole. There's no other description of you except for egomaniacal asshole if you're going to say your beer is better than those 3 beers.
So there's no point.
Yeah, there is no point. I mean, you have lost all credibility here. I don't know how you're going to save face. There's just no way to undo the horrid damage you have done in this obnoxious, petty bullshit that you have pulled here. Yeah, you're fucked. Just totally fucked. Yeah, the only people you're going to have saying anything nice on your videos are these assholes. Scotty rules. All the nihilists are going to show up and start patting your back. So enjoy that experience. Enjoy hanging out with the insensitive, the selfish, the greedy, the bastards of the universe. Because now you're in their category. You've joined them. You've become a really good Republican. Bravo. So anyway. Yeah, so I will I'll make a separate video on the comment thing. I'll go back to the original 2 comments. I don't remember them, but I'll go back to the original 2 comments. I'll play my video, paraphrase my video, then I'll read you the 2 comments he made, and then we'll get back to this. We'll get this back on track, and I'll show you exactly how he perverted what I said. Alright? How he distorted what I said. And then we'll understand that he started this whole fucking stupid mess. He's wrong, and I'm right. And I haven't said anything. He still has refused to quote me in anything I have said that he can refute, except for his idiotic statement that I made some sort of direct accusation that he said specific things in his blog that he didn't say. No, I misparaphrased him. I'm conceding. I did not paraphrase him closely enough, explicitly enough. And then I apologized for that in a sense and said I'll go back to the blog and I'll read the exact paragraph. And I read the exact paragraph. But again, I would rather do video exchanges than I have to do videos to 496,000 word blogs. I mean, that is sort of obnoxious on its face. But whatever, who cares? I've never liked commenters much, but I really hate the ones that decide to write a whole blog on the subject that's full of minutia and mush and shit. But I guess I could try. I don't know how long it would take. If I did a video reading his blog, it might take, 5 hours. Might be fun. You'll see.